Hello everyone, welcome to another lesson from Nursing with Jemmy. Today we are going to learn about the gastrointestinal system. So in this lesson, we are going to learn about the parts of GI system, the solid and hollow organ, 6 steps in digestion process, facts about heartburn, parts of stomach, sections of small intestine, sections of large intestine, and last the digestive juices secreted by the GI system. So let's start. This is how the digestive system looks like. It starts from the mouth and ends at the anus. The GI system is also called as the digestive system for an obvious reason. It's where all the facets of digestion takes place. That means everything from the way food comes in our body, how our system breaks down that food, and how waste exits our body. It is complicated but important process. So let's take a look at our GI system in more detail. Our GI system does more than just digest our food. Our body needs nutrients from food and water for us to stay healthy and survive. Our GI system breaks down food into very small pieces that can be absorbed by the body and used as a sort of fuel that helps in functioning of the body. What happens once we ingest our food? The GI tract has a long passage way which starts from the mouth and ends at the anus. Think of GI tract as the entrance and exit point of food. The GI tract is also called as alimentary canal. It passes through a number of solid and hollow organs. And now we are going to take a closer look at those. The gastrointestinal system has 3 solid organs, that is the liver, gallbladder and pancreas. The mouth, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus are the hollow organs. The hollow organs push food through our bodies via a process called as peristalsis. It's the push and the pull that allows food to move from one muscle to another. The muscle behind the foot contracts and the muscle in front of the foot relaxes, allowing for easy passage. That's how food moves through our body. Now, let's see 6-step process in digestion. The first step is ingestion, second is propulsion, mechanical breakdown, fourth is chemical digestion, fifth is absorption, and sixth one is elimination. Food is ingested, chewed, and swallowed. That is ingestion. Muscular contraction propel it through the alimentary canal and physically break it down into tiny particles. That is where propulsion and mechanical breakdown happens. Digestive fluids chemically break down the nutrients from food into molecules smaller enough for absorption. That is where absorption comes into place. Finally, indigestible substances are eliminated as waste. The last sixth step of the digestion comes into place is called as elimination. So the 6 steps involved in digestion is ingestion, propulsion, mechanical breakdown, chemical digestion, absorption and elimination. We'll start with the mouth, the place that chews and ingests our food. After chewing, we swallow and the tongue plays its important role by pushing the food into the throat. The epiglottis, a small flap, covers the windpipe so food doesn't get stuck there. And now that we have swallowed the food, the digestive journey starts. After we swallow the food, it passes through the esophagus and at the point peristalsis begins. When the food reaches the end of the esophagus, it passes through the lower esophageal sphincter and then to the stomach. Have you ever got heartburn? Have you ever thought about heartburn? Why does that happen? So, why this happens is the sphincter is supposed to be closed, so food doesn't go back into the esophagus. When the sphincter relaxes at the wrong time and food backs up, well, that's the time when you feel heartburn. But if everything goes as it should be, the food has now made its way into stomach. And that's where it goes for a nice digestive swim. Digestive juices coat the food and liquid and break them down so they can continue their journey through the body. But before we continue along our journey, we need to talk a little more about the stomach, a single organ that has five different parts. Cardia is the first part, the part of the stomach closest to the esophagus. The second part of the stomach is the fundus. This is next to cardia and is the upper part of the stomach. The third is the body, the main part of the stomach. The fourth one is antrum, the lowest part of the stomach where food and liquid mix with the digestive juices. The fifth one is pylorus. This part lets food pass from stomach into small intestine. Now remember the pylorus as it plays important role. Once in the small intestine, nutrients head into the blood and waste starts the process of moving out. Now let's move on to the sessions of small intestine. The first session is the duodenum. The duodenum is the uppermost part of the small intestine and only 10 to 15 inches long. What the duodenum does is, it when food passes from the stomach, it enters the duodenum through the pylorus. The duodenum is the smallest part. Next comes the jejunum. Jejunum is the middle portion of the small intestine. It's about 2.5 m long and 4 cm wide. It absorbs sugar and amino acids before it moves on to the final part of the small intestine. The last one is the ileum. It is the lower segment and the longest of the three. It is about 3.5 m long. The ileum absorbs nutrients that were not digested in the jejunum. As food leaves the small intestine, it enters the large intestine. The small intestine is about 23 feet long. Have you ever thought, why is the large intestine labeled large when it is only 6 feet? The large intestine at 3 inches has a large diameter than the small intestine, which is just about an inch. The term large intestine refers to larger diameter and not the total length. The large intestine takes food, breaks it down even further, and turns it into waste. Now let's see the sections of the large intestine. There are several sections of the large intestine that participate in this process. The regions of the large intestines are appendix, cecum, ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, rectum, and anal canal. The large intestine absorbs water, electrolytes, and vitamins that remain after chyme is passed from the small intestine. It compacts and temporarily stores feces for defecation. In the ascending colon, in the beginning, it is the beginning of the large intestine and it has two parts, that is the cecum and the colic. It is known as ileocecal valve. The valve is at the end of the ascending colon and separates the cecum from small intestine. The valve prevents food and other materials from flowing back into the small intestine. This process of fermentation takes place in transverse colon. As the food leaves the ascending colon and enters the transverse colon, fermentation further breaks down the food by removing water and nutrients. Once the fermentation process finishes, the remaining waste forms. So in the transverse colon, there are two arteries, the medial colic artery and the inferior mesenteric artery, which provides constant supply of oxygenated blood to the transverse colon. Because of the blood flow in the transverse colon, The intestine is healthy and is prevented against illnesses. Now let's move. Food has moved from the small intestine to large intestine and has made its way to transverse colon. From there, it goes to the descending colon. Now the descending colon stores food before it is emptied into the rectum. It is also a point where feces starts to become solid. From there, the waste enters the sigmoid colon, and that's where waste solidifies. The muscular wall of the sigmoid colon contract to push feces into the next part, that is the rectum. The rectum acts as the holding tank of waste. It holds feces until it's ready to be expelled out. The waste exits through the final step of GI system, that is anus. That's the journey food takes. Now let's move on to the digestive juices. First one is salivary gland secretes saliva that begins chemical digestion in the oral cavity. Second one is gastric juice produced by glands in the stomach lining digest food into chyme. Bile contains bile salt that emulsify fats. Pancreatic juice contains enzymes and ions that aid digestion in the small intestine and buffers that neutralize stomach acid. The last one is intestinal enzymes. Glands in the intestinal wall secrete intestinal enzymes that further break down chyme. These are the digestive juices that are being produced by the GI system. I hope I could make you understand the basics of the GI system. If you liked my video, please like and share. Subscribe. Thank you.